people will need you to inform them about the reasons for making those decisions. And then the last one, which is very critical, is procedural fairness. Procedural fairness is very much important. You must ensure that the procedure that you have followed is very fair. But the principles of fairness also, I've written about them in chapter 7. Fairness in decision making. It's important people to embrace all those. Yeah.
Dr. Vuyi, I also want to, before we run out of time, just to quickly touch on, the ideal public servant culture in South Africa. What do you think is lacking here, and how do we begin to fill that gap?
Okay, I will try. I looked at this question. I realized that it's not an easy one. But I would like to say to you, if you wanted to understand the ideal public servant culture in South Africa, you need also to understand it against certain background. You must understand that the public servants that enter a public service, a lot of them are coming from the background where they have studied other things other than the areas that are pertinent to public administration. So as such, they enter this environment with certain expectations. At the same time, the environment has got its own expectations because there's an expectation to understand the legislative and the regulatory framework that guides the operation. And some of they enter as professionals, but entering as a professional alone, you must know that that's a tip of an iceberg. There are other functions that you are expected to perform when you are a public servant. Whether you have studied these or not, you have to do. I've written my book at a very lower level where people must understand if you are a manager of a unit with your employees, you are participating in policy making, you are driving policy implementation. You must also do policy evaluation. And there are also some of the policies that you have to develop, like policy procedures, the manuals, and the circulars. And then financing. You must know that whatever that you are doing in your unit, it has to be budgeted for. So, and also you must understand the procurement of goods and services. So, which means you must know the supply chain policies. And then you must also perform the function of organizing. I think, let me try in summarizing that the last one, you must also know that there are controls that you will find there, but at the same time, you will have to design your own internal controls for ensuring accountability. So in my book, I've written about 3 levels of control: first level, second level, and third level of controls.
Dr. Vuyi, we have to leave it there for this afternoon, but we appreciate your time. That was Dr. Vuyi Mlomondlovu, and Dr. Vuyi is the retired Deputy Commissioner with 30 years of experience in public service and focusing a lot of her career in the correctional services. Let's take a quick pause. We'll be right back.
This October month, SFM joins the world in breast cancer awareness. We bring you conversations that highlight the importance of early detection, survivor stories that inspire hope, and expert advice that could save lives. Together, let's spread awareness and support the fight against breast cancer. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, we are catching up with Ravi Naidu now, CEO of YES, the Youth Employment Service, and they are a private sector funded youth employment initiative. He's going to tell us more, just a little bit of context, but also we're talking the digital skills program that's essential for transforming public service delivery. How are you doing this afternoon, Ravi?
Oh, I'm doing very well, Bridget. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for the time. For our listeners that might not be familiar with the Youth Employment Services, please give us some background.
Right. So the Youth Employment Service, or YES, is a public-private partnership. It was set up about 2016 between governments and the private sector. And basically companies fund internships. And the interns either work in the companies or sometimes they fund more interns than they can take. And then those interns can go to work in key sectors that we want to grow as a country. And at the end, we have a lot of people who get quality work experience, and they should go on to become young professionals or young entrepreneurs and sort of fuel the economy going forward. And to date, we've just passed 200,000 interns who've been full-time for over a year and going into all different industries. And it's about 3,000 to 4,000 people sponsored like that per month. And we've got about 1,898 companies now that have been funding. And when the companies fund these youth, they can claim it under the BE codes, because it's obviously empowering youth, or if they want, they can also claim it under their ESG impact reports with the investors. So it's become the biggest private sector funded youth internship program in the world.
Yeah. Earlier this year, around March, there was a study that was published by the Nelson Mandela University that assessed the impact of digital technologies on service delivery, particularly so in local government. Speak to us around how digital transformation within these spaces in various sectors can actually improve service delivery, and maybe even speak to other issues around transparency.
Yeah. So I think, Bridget, the issue is, I think everyone knows that over the next 10 years, most jobs will require some degree of digital skills competence. And the global research, some of which you're referring to, I think it says about 90% of all jobs will require understanding of AI in particular. And the surveys we've done of companies is about 60% of companies think they have a shortage of digital skills for them to make the transition into the digital economy, because you need, people to help throughout the company. So, and that's in the private sector, and of course in government and the public sector is even more acute, because effective government is really about how do we increase the capacity of government, and that means they need a lot of people to come in. Even if they're coming in as a young graduate or, no degree, but just coming in as a very smart young person, the person must be able to be, fairly confident and competent in digital skills. So I think, so it's becoming a requirement across the board, and whatever your company or industry is, that you have to have those skills. And I think for government, what would be the obvious benefits for them, and municipalities in particular, is, the more digital and technologically savvy systems you have, the more you can reduce the costs of transactions, the more you can do things cheaper and faster. And from a transparency point of view, when you get off lots and lots of paper and you have it on digital systems, it's easier for other people to verify and to pick up when there are problems, because then you can bring in more systems to pick up things that you can't pick up if they're just lost in a piece of paper somewhere in a provincial office. So all of that is part of the upgrades that, of course, government has to do across the board.
Are there sectors or areas of government that perhaps you are engaged in where you've seen the impact of this digital transformation, where you've plugged into what you termed as the shortage of digital skills and seen how it tangibly improved systems or brought some innovation into the systems that improved operations?
Yeah, so yes, as you said in the introduction, it's really a private sector funded program, but we do work with the public sector. But we've seen it obviously in banks and retailers and the auto sector and so on, where across the board, everything you need to have very good business processing back office systems where you can run, things 24/7. And lots of the youth go into IT departments, and even the motor industry now, cars are literally cell phones with wheels. That you have to bring in people who know that. In government, obviously it's very, so we can see the need that you really have to have a lot more systems brought in from the finance and procurement side, so you can see what's happening with the money. And, you can bring in systems where you want to track infrastructure and the state of infrastructure, because, you use a lot of technology to see, what's broken, what's deteriorating in terms of quality. If you go to the US, for instance, they use drones to look at the state of technology and whether a building is now being 70% complete, whereas last week it was 65% complete, so you can match the invoicing with the state of the the actual state of play. So all of these things are changing radically from how things were administered maybe 20, 30 years ago, where it was very paper-based. So I think, so South Africa has a chance to really upgrade and almost leapfrog, some of these systems. But then you need to have people who are comfortable with the technology if you're going to use all the software. Otherwise, you're just going to spend money and then no one can use it.
Absolutely. I mean, you have mentioned before that although South African youth are intrinsically tech savvy, there's also that lack of work experience that can demonstrate their employability to potential employers, including also in the main government. And you've suggested here that perhaps a mixture of traditional approaches alongside as well non-credited training programs. Expand on that for us a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So the one thing is, it's good that we have a country that has got what is a high level of cell phone penetration. So a lot of people have cell phones. In fact, we have, I think, 2 cell phones per person on average. And internet is rolling out, including through digital rollout infrastructure through rural areas and so on. So I think we're on the right track in that regard, and it's good that people are comfortable with cell phones. But the challenge is, from a work point of view, you actually have to have a job as a young person, so you get to use those skills in a work environment, and then you can take that sort of almost natural knowledge from your childhood or your youth into a work environment. So that's where the internships become very important, because you've got to give people a chance to put what they know into practice and to learn other skills. Now, we as a country do spend a lot on training, as you know, and that's good. And obviously huge improvements must be made with all our training programs. But if you want to speed this up, what we find is, it's good to do these very expensive and long courses where you get official accreditation. But, global companies, so let's take Microsoft, for instance, and Amazon Web Service will be the same, and a range of them. They have their own exam-based qualifications, which they themselves certify. So these wouldn't be government certified, but they'd be certified by a global company. Now, I can tell you, if you go around the market and you say you've done the exams with Microsoft and you did well, and it's a Microsoft qualification, it's still worth a lot, because people say, oh, well, if you've done the exam with Microsoft or Amazon or whatever, that means you passed their cloud practitioner exams. That's good. So, but those are things you can do very, very quickly and cheaply. And, so what YES does with corporates is it can help young people do these exams paid for by the corporates, and they just add that to their CV. And in many cases, it might be seen as impactful or even more important than maybe official government certification, because it's linked to the users of the people who produce those technologies, or will actually be the end employer. So we're trying to get more of those into the markets, obviously in collaboration with our public and private sector partners.
Just in our last point, Ravi, as we wrap up in the last minute, you guys obviously at YES are creating a pipeline here of talent, as you've said, and part of that reason is to also ensure that we have skilled youth to maintain and also improve these systems, because we may have systems, but now getting the right people to ensure that the systems are consistently up and functional.
That's right. I mean, so the idea is to really have a very large number of South Africans who are comfortable and with using all of this technology. And South Africa now we as a country are in the top 20 in terms of countries that can even produce AI products and services. So we are very much in the top league, but we need to have a very broad base of young people who can do it. So the idea is just to get partnerships going that can do that. And at the moment, YES has 50,000 certifications that we're offering for free, exam-based to young people. And if that works well, we'll have another 50,000 next year. And it's really part of an overall, let's say, AI technology skilling program that we're doing nationally with partners.
Wonderful. Ravi Naidu, we appreciate the time. He's the CEO of the Youth Employment Service. And it's just a few seconds to go before the top of the hour news. We're going to come through with the 2 o'clock news update. Jolani Tsulongwepe is standing by to bring you that.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Top stories: Asawa Sibiya appears before Parliament's ad hoc committee, and the Limpopo Premier visits bus crash site. Good afternoon. Suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has taken his oath and is currently appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee. The committee's chairperson, Molapi Lechanyane, earlier cautioned against attacks on the evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, after the party expressed its doubt in Arendse's abilities. Arendse had suggested that one of the MKP members, David Skosana, should withdraw from the committee because he had laid criminal charges against witnesses, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and Sibiya. Lechanyane says such attacks on Arendse can't be justified.
This senior counsel is not a senior counsel of Parliament. And if there is any matter that has to do with the rules or our conduct as members of Parliament, don't throw that matter to the senior counsel. It is not his matter. He has been unnecessarily attacked here. The attack on him is unjustifiable, and we must desist from doing that.
Limpopo Premier Bobi Ramathuba says fatigue may have been the cause of the bus crash that claimed 42 lives on the N1 near Louis Trichardt. The vehicle overturned and rolled down an embankment after the bus driver allegedly lost control yesterday. Those injured have been admitted to various hospitals in the Bembe district. The bus was travelling from Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape en route to Zimbabwe and Malawi. The road has been partially reopened for traffic. Ramathuba says a preliminary report on the cause of the accident will be released within 48 hours.
Officials from the traffic department, we've got RTMC, they've already started with the work of investigating, and they've reassured us that within the next 48 hours, they will be giving us preliminary report. The fact that the bus was traveling from PE up towards Harare, you can't rule out a fatigue. You can't rule it out. Even probably maybe if you were two drivers, you were exchanging, but you can't rule out the fatigue.
3 more suspects have been arrested in connection with the hijacking and murder of a LEAP officer over the weekend. The 23-year-old was off duty when he was hijacked, stabbed and stoned in Brown's Farm. Mayoral Committee member for Safety and Security J.P. Smith says he was found by colleagues in the Marikana informal settlement and later died in hospital.
Following the first arrest, the Safety and Security Information Management Services Unit, along with the SAPS Organised Crime Unit, LEAP and the Khayelitsha Tactical Response Unit, embarked on a manhunt for the remaining suspects. The team received a tip-off which led them to the COVID informal settlement, where they arrested 2 more suspects. The team arrested another suspect in Philippi East and recovered a knife believed to be the murder weapon. The 4 suspects are set to appear in the Athlone Magistrates Court on Tuesday.
Santaco in the Western Cape has unveiled a plan to end the ongoing taxi violence within the taxi industry. The organisation has introduced representatives of the Taxi Peace Ambassador Programme during a launch ceremony held at the Bellville Taxi Rank. Santaco's provincial chairperson, Mandla Hermanus, says there will be a representative from each of the 8 regions who will be trained to be proactive in resolving issues before they escalate into violence.
Their role is to be our ears and eyes on the ground. Whenever they sense that there are issues that might result in taxi violence, then they have a responsibility to report that to us, and then we will look and see if it needs the Department of Mobility, then we engage them. If it needs the City of Cape Town, we engage the city, and even if it needs SAPS, and then we engage with SAPS.
Scientists in England have discovered that thermal cameras can reveal a person's level of stress by measuring the temperature of their nose. Psychologists at the University of Sussex found that the human nose drops in temperature by about 2 degrees when someone is acutely stressed. The BBC's Victoria Jill has the story.
Starting from 2023.
That's me in a scientific stress test. I could feel my heart rate increasing, palms sweating, but a thermal camera also revealed that the temperature of my nose dropped by about 2 degrees. That test was carried out by a research team who found that thermal cameras can be used to measure stress levels, picking up this nasal temperature dip. It's caused by our nervous systems pushing blood flow to our eyes and ears so we can look and listen out for danger. It's a new non-invasive way to measure stress and monitor our response to it. So the researchers hope it will lead to new ways to help people recover and regain their calm.
Recapping the top story this hour, suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has taken his oath and is currently appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee. For SAFM News, I'm Jolani Tulo Webe.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes trying to fix the office printer or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For her 2025 Hyundai Exter, 65-year-old Helena now pays only 398 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Haval H6 4x4, 50-year-old Priya pays just 1,178 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
We have different languages and cultures, but what we have in common is that we all want a dignified funeral and for our loved ones not to worry about money when the time comes. Trust Clientele to provide you with affordable funeral cover that will pay out within 24 hours. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's SAFM to 48031. SMS now. Clientele Life is a licensed life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates, terms and conditions apply.
The Seagulls are counting on the power of victory to find comfort in the top half.
Reaper across! 2-1 Albion! Unbelievable scenes at Stamford Bridge.
Meanwhile, the Magpies want to start collecting points to level up to a decent position.
Looking for Baltimore! And the big German gets another goal.
This is the Premier League. Experience Brighton and Hove Albion versus Newcastle United on Saturday, 18 October at 3:30 p.m. Live on SABC3 and SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This October month, SAFM shines a light on mental health awareness. This month, we bring you conversations that break the stigma, encourage care, and provide strategies to protect your mental well-being. Because it's okay not to be okay. And together, we can build a healthier tomorrow. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
It has just gone 10 past 2 o'clock. And of course, that was Theo Josinkwe coming through. Umpete Kahle is the name of that particular song. I think Theo actually has a new song, if I'm not mistaken. I think I peeped something like that on his social media. You know, we got to balance life. You got to watch hardcore real news and then balance it with social media, especially when it comes to artists. That's where you get the authentic stuff straight from their post. Anyway, it's just gone 10 past 2 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, as we continue the conversations this afternoon. There's so much that is happening. Of course, General Sibiya is currently giving his evidence and testimony at that parliamentary ad hoc committee that is sitting in Cape Town today. SABC News keeping you abreast with all of that via channel 405 if you would like to watch the live broadcast. Alternatively, 404, my apologies, 404. My apologies. SABC News is 404. They are keeping you abreast. And that time I'm busy watching SABC News right now. And then, of course, Ashraf is also going to bring you the updates as the afternoon unfolds a little bit later on the National Pulse. From our end, though, the conversation continues. And we want to get into our next conversation in just a moment with Curiosity Cube. It's called Curiosity Cube Mobile Science Lab. We'll find out more about that from the Cube coordinator in just a moment.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Bridget Masinga is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, so according to the World Economic Forum, to meet the anticipated demand for skilled professionals in engineering, healthcare, IT, and other vital sectors, Africa needs an additional 23 million STEM graduates by 2030 to fill these key positions. I mean, we're not too far from 2030. So we thought we'll catch up with Lina Sibisi, who is the CUBE coordinator, and talk about the Curiosity Cube Mobile Science Lab. And they are bringing hands-on AI science education to Cape Town. How are you doing this afternoon, Lina?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for the time. I mean, if we are, and I'm going to find out from you exactly what is the Curiosity Cube, but if we are to meet our portion of that 23 million STEM graduates by 2030 to fill these key and strategic roles within various sectors, what would we need to be focused on as South Africa?
I think a program like Curiosity Cube is where we need to start. We need to start them young. We can't think about STEM careers once people are in varsity already. That's already too late. So I think if we spark the curiosity when kids are starting to think about what they want to be when they grow up, and having STEM as a possibility for them, it then makes it a little bit easier when the transition happens from high school to university, because they have an idea of what it is that we're talking about, instead of getting to varsity and realizing, oh my goodness, the world is so much bigger than police officer and doctor and all of this, right? And we don't want to play catch up as Africans. We don't want to play catch up to the rest of the world. We don't want inventions to exclude us, because we have our own challenges. We have our own needs as a continent. So if we participate, when we participate, then our needs will be met as well. There's so much technology that's coming out, and we want it to benefit Africa just as much as it benefits the whole world with our unique needs and responsibilities. So hopefully, the Curiosity Cube sparks that for the future generation, and then more initiatives will come out of it.
Absolutely. Then let's double back to the essence. What is the Curiosity Cube?
Well, the Curiosity Cube is a mobile science lab, as mentioned. So it is a shipping container that's been retrofitted into a mobile science lab. We travel all around Southern Africa, bringing science to kids using 3 fundamental experiments that have hands-on learning. So we try to take the learning from inside the classroom to outside the classroom. We try to make it interactive. That's who we are.
And let me just also ask Lena, does the lab in essence supplement what is already being taught within the schools and regions that you go to?
Well, the lab is it's a bridge between the textbook and real world, right? Mm-hmm. So because of the schools that we reach, they're underprivileged, they're under-resourced, they don't get to do the things physically. They don't get to interact with the science experiments physically. So we don't want science to just be a theory. We want to take it outside the classroom. We want it to be hands-on, so that because kids learn in a different way. Many kids learn differently. Some people would think, I'm not really that good at science. I don't really understand it until they interact with it physically, and they realize, oh, this is an everyday thing. I do this every day. I'm a scientist every day in my normal life. So it just sparks that extra bit of curiosity.
And speaking of sort of engaging with the science and sparking that extra bit of curiosity, talk to us about, the experiments, what those entail, and what is taught by way of, and I'm going to use the word loosely, quote unquote, the curriculum of the lab.
Uh-huh. So we have 3 hands-on experiments that talk to the fundamentals of artificial intelligence. We have the Overbot, which is a self-driving car that talks about programming basics. We have the Light Bright, that's about visual learning and pattern recognition and how AI learns. We also have the Guess Who game. That's to just expose the children to generative AI and what they see on social media, and to be able to identify this between a real image and an AI-generated image.
Interesting stuff. And I mean, I guess it would be difficult to sort of explain to us or paint us a picture in terms of how each of these are taught to the students, but just for, I don't know how best you can, to spark our curiosity, to see how things are done that much different in the lab versus like a standard school science classroom.
Yes. Well, our experiments are very much a gamification of AI, because we want kids to have fun. And the more fun they have, the better they remember, right? So all our experiments are games. The Light Bright is a match game. They get to match patterns and match colors and just learn how AI learns without having to sit in a classroom and try and teach them or lecture that to them. The self-driving car is an actual self-driving car. We literally have a little robot that drives on its own, and we're just teaching kids programming and things like that. And the Guess Who game is a bunch of pictures and different ways to identify generative AI and real images, because we're living in a world where we're fed so much information, and you need to be able to identify what's real and what's not.
The inspiration for is it Merck? The inspiration for Merck to launch initiatives such as this?
Yeah, I mean, we as Merck are really passionate about health and science and furthering education and sparking curiosity in youth and inspiring STEM careers in the future, because the next scientists are 5, they're 6, they're 7, they're 8, they're 10, and we might not be the ones to benefit right now. However, the future generations will benefit as well. So it's really important to spark the seed now, so that by the time they're teenagers and adults, they are equally participating in their future.
You guys, Merck has also partnered up with institutions, right, on a lot of these programs. You've roped in a few tertiary institutions to come through. Talk to us about those partnerships and the value in that partnership.
Because our program is so new, we wanted to carry on our relationship with the local universities that we already have. Merck is a big company, and we have many assets, and as the universities are some of our clients, like because we do chemicals and things like that. So some of them are our customers, and we have long-standing relationships with them. And because our program is so new, and the primary schools don't know us yet, right? We wanted to partner with people they trust and people they know, and people we trust and people we know, so that they can leverage the relationships of the schools they have around them. They have a better understanding of the needs and the schools around them, around their area. Outside of us, like us coming in as a company, we don't really know what the community needs or who it is that we're serving. But when we partner with a local university that's in touch with the community, that's in touch with the schools, it's easier for us to build that relationship, and also for them to trust that we're not just a scary company that's coming to teach science. We're really, really, really passionate about education, about sparking curiosity, about being part of the change that we want to see, So our relationships with the universities are incredible. We're really, really grateful. I mean, we've had a different kind of relationship with the university for many years. So this is just an addition to what we already have with them. So, and we're truly, truly grateful.
Let's also hone in a little bit on the impact, that the Curiosity Cube has had on young minds in South Africa. And obviously, I can imagine that you must have set yourselves a target for what you'd like to see achieved, and by what means or at what time.
Yeah. So, I think in order to see the impact, you need to be there. I'm so grateful to be in the cube itself, to see the impact hands-on, We're getting it in real time. We're hearing the oohs and the ahs from the kids in real time. They're coming out of the cube being, oh my goodness, I've never been so excited to do science. Like, this is so cool. I think I can create robots as well. And to hear from the teachers, because a lot of the kids that are accompanied by science teachers. So to see that relationship of what it is that they teach in the classroom come to life, and they get to put the dots together, and the kids get to really understand their science teachers even more. And it's so incredible. The targets this year is about 10 to 15,000 kids. I think we're well on our way there. We plan to see 5 countries. We've gone to 4 out of the 5 right now, and it's been incredible. You hear it, you see it. Kids are excited about science. They're excited about their future. They're excited about STEM. They realize that, me making tea in the morning, that is science. It's not this thing that's bigger than me. I'm participating every day, and now I can participate intentionally.
And the importance as well, Lena, on bringing such experiences, such as the Cube, to Africa, and especially now, in the midst of this conversation around AI penetration, and the impact that such technologies are going to have on our immediate future.
Yes, I mean, you mentioned when you opened the insert that Africa is going to need millions and millions of STEM graduates, right, by the year 2030. And we want to inspire that generation. For so long, Africa has played catch up. We don't want that. We want to be part of it. We want the change to happen. We're sitting at those tables. We're participating. We're impacting the changes that come.
We've momentarily lost Lena there for a second, but I mean, it sounds like an interesting program that they've initiated, and with the hopes of it touching thousands of young learners' lives across the African continent. It is a hefty target that has been put out there by the World Economic Forum that says 23 million STEM graduates by 2030 are needed in order to fill those gaps on the continent. And Lena's back with us, and apologies for that disconnect. Don't know what happened, but you were just beginning to talk to us about the importance of bringing these experiences to the continent at this vital time when we're seeing this drastic shift in technologies and in the digital divide.
Yeah, I mean, we know in our continent how big the gap is, especially from under-resourced and underprivileged areas. We see it, it's hands-on. When the kids get to university, the gap is so big, and they're competing with kids that went to private schools, that went to these elite schools. So we don't want us to be on the back burner. We want to be on those tables, when those decisions are being made, when the inventions are coming, that will impact us whether we like them or not, right? So we want to be part of those conversations. And we're really hoping that with things like the Curiosity Cube and many more programs that come from different places, we really wish that in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, Africa is really an integral part of those changes that are being made, that we are in those seats, we are on those tables, we're making decisions, we're not accepting and not catching up. We are part of that change. We want the next big inventors to come from our continent because we have such bright minds, such incredible inventions, such incredible thinkers, and we just need the resources, we just need the opportunities, and we hope the Curiosity Cube can inspire that.
Yeah, I know, just as we say goodbye, I know that this current tour has just wrapped in the Western Cape. Is there going to be another one that happens at some point this year?
Unfortunately, not this year. We are planning to wrap up in November. That will be in Lesotho. But hopefully we'll be back next year with a different theme. So every year we have a different theme. And next year will be a different theme. And you'll see more places. We only launched in June in Southern Africa. There's 5 cubes in total, 2 in North America, 2 in Europe, and this is the first Southern African one. So we're just new. It's been a few months, 5 months now. So we're really, really hoping that next year we can go to more places, see more kids with a brand new theme and a beautiful, more looking container, and touch more kids.
Wonderful. Lena Sibisi, we appreciate the time. And Lena is the Cube coordinator for the Curiosity Cube. It's fast approaching 2:30 in about a minute and a half. We're going to bring you the headline news with Jolani, and then we'll come back on the other side of those headlines and get into our kids programming before we come back and engage our final conversation of the day.
The Morning Brief.
How did we get here?
I think what is important is for us to deal with the situation at hand and make sure that the teacher assistants who haven't been paid until this day are paid urgently and quickly. One thing I can assure the listeners is that we will deal with the issues of consequence management in a very, very harsh way, because this is so unfortunate. This is a program that is noble, meant to assist young people who are unemployed, to give them on-job training, but also to assist them. Some of them have got literally nothing. Some of them have to pay rent and everything. But what is important is that we need to pay these teacher assistants, and we must be sympathetic. And we are very sympathetic and apologetic that we haven't paid.
Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour, Jomo Sibia.
Tulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Good afternoon. Making headlines, evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission have submitted their application that hearings between the 13th and 17th of October be heard in camera. They say this is due to the sensitivity of the witness statements that will be submitted before the Commission. Suspended Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia has taken his oath and is currently appearing before Parliament's ad hoc committee. And finally, cheering crowds have met several buses carrying Palestinian prisoners and detainees released by Israel in exchange for the 20 living hostages freed by Hamas. I will have details on these and other stories at 3 o'clock.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hello friends, and welcome to our Monday edition of Kids Corner. I hope you're having a great start to the week. Today let's talk about something we all need to practice: being patient. Are you a patient person? What makes you say so? Can you remember a time when you had to wait for something you really wanted? Maybe a special gift, a trip, or your birthday? How did it make you feel to wait? Why do you think it's important to be patient with other people? What do you do to keep yourself calm while waiting? And do you think being patient can help you at home and at school? All right, let's hear from some of our friends while you share your answers with the people next to you.
Hello, my name is Apelele Pembe and I am 8 years old. Yes, I think I am patient. I am saying I'm patient because I can wait for my turn when when I am playing games, and I don't get too upset if I have to wait a little bit longer for something. Yes, I had to wait for my birthday party. I felt really excited, but a little bit nervous because I wanted it to start right away. It is important to 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 be patient with others because everyone needs time. It helps us get along better and makes friends feel happier. When I wait, I like to play with my toys or draw pictures. It helps me not think about how long I'm waiting. Yes, being patient helps me at school because I can listen better and wait for my turn to answer questions. At home, it helps me get along with my family, like when we're cooking dinner together. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Matemba Kosa. I am 6 years old. I go to Jabez Christian Academy School. I think I'm not patient because when someone says I have to wait, I feel sad and it makes me feel like I want to cry. This holiday I had to wait for my dad to buy me clay. Being patient with other people makes our relationship stronger. When I'm waiting, I keep myself calm by thinking good thoughts.
My name is Movumbi. I am a boy. I am 10 years old. Yes, because I will be waiting for something without being bored or blaming someone. Why did we come here? Because it is taking long. There was this one movie that was coming out in April. I would go to the calendar and look when will that movie come out. And when it came out, it was so worth the wait. I felt great because I finally watched the movie. I think it is important to wait patiently for others to do or say something even though they are doing it slow. I sing or hum when I'm waiting patiently. Yes, it can help me to wait for something.
Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Kawamba. I'd say I'm a pretty patient person, but not all the time. Sometimes waiting can be really hard, especially when you're excited about something. I remember once waiting for my birthday present. It felt like the day was going on forever, but I had to stay calm and distract myself. I think being patient is important because it helps you handle situations without getting angry or giving up too fast. When I'm waiting, I usually keep myself busy by listening to music, watching a show, or even journaling. Being patient also helps at school and at home because it shows respect and helps you work better with others. You learn that not everything happens instantly.
Hello everyone, my name is Agana Tagaran. I am 9 years old and I'm in grade 4. Yes, I'm patient. I think I'm patient because when somebody told me to wait, I wait until they give me that thing. Yes, I remember a time when I asked my mother for food and she told me to wait because she was busy. I felt fine. I think it's important to be patient with other people so that you can get what you need and also everybody can get what they need. To keep myself calm while waiting, I play games with my sibling at home.
Yes, I think being patient at school helps students spend more time on difficult subjects like maths or science.
Hi friends, my name is Oketwa Munyan and I live in Bulukone City. Yes, I am very patient. The thing that makes me patient is that I am good at waiting for things and people. And the thing that I had to wait for that I really wanted was a new Bible. I felt very excited while waiting for it. And I think it's important to be patient with other people because you are showing respect, responsibility, and wisdom. The thing I do to keep me calm while waiting is to think of something happy or funny. Yes, being patient can help at home and school. For example, being patient to others' opinions and many more things. Thank
Hi,
you.
my name is Danica. I personally am not a very patient person. I'm not very patient because sometimes I get tired of waiting and I just get very impatient. I remember when I was younger, I really wanted a telescope and I waited for years before I finally got it. I was very impatient and I kept asking my mother for a telescope because I really wanted one. But then eventually I did get it. It is important to be patient with others because it can build trust and understanding with that person. Whenever I feel impatient, I always try to forget about what I'm waiting for, or I do things to stay busy to keep my mind off of it. Being patient can help you at school and at home. At school, it can help you by improving your learning and can reduce stress. And at home, it can build relationships with family and trust. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Ferguson Pembe. I am 11 years old. I think I am patient. I believe I am patient because I try to stay calm and wait for things instead of getting frustrated. Yes, I remember waiting for my birthday party. I felt excited but a little anxious because I wanted it to start right away. It's important to be patient because everyone has their own pace. Being patient helps us understand each other better and creates a friendly atmosphere. To keep myself calm while waiting, I would like to distract myself by reading a book or listening to music. Sometimes I even count down the minutes. Yes, being patient is really helpful. At school, it helps me focus and learn better. At home, it makes family time more enjoyable because I can listen and communicate well. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Lorraine. I would say I am patient because I can wait on things without having to throw tantrums. One time I can remember when I had to wait for something is for my summer concert to come around because I was really excited. And that just made me feel really excited and well, I had to wait for a very long time. If I want to help myself be patient, I usually just play games on my phone or on the PlayStation, or I can just read a book or study. I think that, well, being patient can help you at school and at home because it just builds better relationships with other people. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. Today we're talking about something really important, being patient. Thank you, friends. It's always great to hear from you. Today we're talking about something really important, patience. Being patient means staying calm and kind even when you have to wait for something you really want. Sometimes that's not easy, like when you have to wait for your turn to play, your birthday to come, or your favorite food to be ready. But patience is one of the best superpowers we can have. Can you remember a time when you had to wait for something special? Maybe a gift, a holiday, or a visit from someone you love? It can feel hard at first. Your heart races, you keep checking the clock, and you just want time to move faster. But when you finally get what you've been waiting for, it feels even more amazing because you worked on being patient. Being patient also means understanding that things won't always happen right away. At school, patience helps you learn, like when a math problem feels tough or when you're waiting for your teacher's help. At home, it helps you get along better with your family and friends, especially when you don't always agree. When it's hard to wait, there are things you can do to keep calm, like taking deep breaths, counting slowly, drawing, reading, or finding something fun to do while you wait. These small things can make time pass more easily and help you stay happy. Always remember, friends, patience shows maturity, kindness, and respect for others. It helps you grow, learn, and make better choices every day. So the next time you're stuck waiting for something, smile and remind yourself, good things take time and I can wait. That's it for today, friends. See you next time.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives. This October month, SAFM shines a light on mental health awareness. This month, we bring you conversations that break the stigma, encourage care, and provide strategies to protect your mental well-being. Because it's okay not to be okay, and together, we can build a healthier tomorrow. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This October month, SAFM focuses on cybersecurity awareness. As we live more of our lives online, staying safe in the digital world has never been more important. From spotting cyber threats to protecting your personal data, SAFM brings you the conversations that empower you to stay secure. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Made in SA with Bridget Masinga. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Alrighty, in our final conversation for this afternoon, we are going to be in conversation with Unandi Khoza, CEO of the Central Drug Authority South Africa. And we're having a conversation around the global drug policy and harm reduction leaders that are meeting in Cape Town. So by 2030, the number of people who use drugs in Africa is projected to rise by 40%. And according to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, without stronger drug policy and harm reduction responses, the region, that is Africa, faces escalating rates of overdose, HIV, hepatitis C, and other harms. So we're just going to weave through this conversation with Unandi Khoza. How are you doing this afternoon?
Bridget, and how are you this afternoon?
I am great. Thank you so much, Nandi, and we appreciate the time. I mean, it's an alarming statistic that by 2030, which is just around the corner, literally, you know, if we write off this year, just 4 years shy to get there, an alarming statistic that Africa is projected to have a drug use that rises to over 40%.
Yes, no, absolutely. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners. Indeed, I mean, it's really an alarming rate in terms of people who use drugs, but also in terms of people who are injecting drugs in Africa, but in our country as well. And that's why we really have to, you know, take serious the issue of implementation of, you know, plans in countries. For example, in South Africa, we do have a national drug master plan, which has all the strategies and efforts on how to, you know, to reduce the demand for drugs and how to reduce the harms that are caused by drugs amongst people, how to reduce the supply, but how to avail medicine as well to counter overdose of drugs, medicine, you know, for treatment of people in particular on harm reduction. And so that's what we really have to do as countries in the world, because in fact the world is affected by this problem. But Africa in particular, the projected rise is quite high.
And we certainly are going to sink our teeth into that National Drug Master Plan in just a moment. But I also wanted to find out, you know, what really is the driving force for the prevalence of drugs within the context of South Africa, and even if we have to look broadly on the African continent?
Yes, there are various factors that actually drive drug use as well as drug injecting in our country, in Africa. And essentially, the first one for us really is the issue around the socio-economic situation in our country and in Africa. And for example, in South Africa, we know that poverty rates have been rising, unemployment rates have been rising, inequalities have been rising. And we are not saying that everyone, we're not saying that everyone is driven to use harmful substances because of those challenges. But of course, there are various other factors that drive people. So it's really one of the results for people to cope with life, to say, look, at home, there's not even a single person that's working. Let me go out and go, raise some income of some sort in this way and that way. And but of course, with others, it's peer pressure, but also the availability and accessibility of drugs in our communities. It's very easy for young ones to go to a place at the corner somewhere in community and be able to access drugs, but also accessing of drugs via websites, via social media. Now we have people who bring, commodities and goods at home. People are able to order online and be able to access, harmful drugs.
There's been a few pioneering efforts, I read, by a few African governments using harm reduction leadership. Talk to us about what that speaks to when we make reference to harm reduction leadership, because part and parcel of the conversations that are going to be happening in Cape Town are an exchange of idea around that.
Absolutely. Today, it being the first day, we were actually, sharing experiences and best practices. We had about 3 countries that were sharing experiences. We had Nigeria, we had Kenya, and we also had South Africa. And essentially, we were sharing experiences on how far we are in terms of harm reduction, addressing the harm that are caused by drugs. Especially in South Africa, we know that many of our young people and older people abuse, or rather use. They use nyawupe, they use wunga, and this is a concoction of drugs, including heroin in particular. But they also abuse cannabis, and they also the people abusing alcohol. Okay, and I need to be sensitive on the language that I'm using. We are aligned with the UNODC language, so we normally talk about substance use and substance use disorder. So so we're sharing those best practices. We were saying, as South Africa, for example, there is increase of drug use and there is increase of injecting drugs. And I listened to other countries, and they were saying the very same, as we have indicated, that there is a projected rise by 40% in Africa. And we were then sharing initiatives as to what exactly is happening in various countries. And here in South Africa, we were indicating that there are harm reduction initiatives, and harm reduction initiatives would include, we start from prevention.
Nandi, can I pause you? Sorry to interject. Can I pause you here for a second and just go into the ad break? And then when we come back, so that we can have a little bit of time, we can get into what those interventions look like. We are in conversation with Nandi Khoza, CEO of the Central Drug Authority South Africa. It's just gone 10 to 3 o'clock.
Channel your inner feel-good on Expresso this October, from big global moments like the G20 summit to how it all plays out right here at home.
We are keeping it real this Mental Health Awareness Month with conversations that lift and inspire. And of course, all the good stuff that you love, delicious food, fashion trends, and everything in between.
Wake up with the Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on S3.
Gordon Ramsay is back, and your favorite kitchen disasters are still somehow in business. New season, same confused chefs, terrifying walk-ins, and enough grease to fry your Wi-Fi. Watch as Gordon tries to fix the unfixable with nothing but sheer rage, British sarcasm, and an iron stomach. Kitchen Nightmares Season 8, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. on S3. Come for the food, stay for the emotional damage.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
Still in conversation with the CEO of the Central Drug Authority South Africa, Nandi Khoza, and we are unpacking a conversation around the prevalence of drugs in the country and by extension on the continent. This is a global crisis, and there's industry leaders, thought leaders, practitioners who have convened in Cape Town to tackle this situation. So, Nandi, you were just about to walk us through some of the initiatives, perhaps, that are being explored around how do we intervene here. And especially, I'm quite interested in some of the measures that speak to harm reduction leadership that have been implemented in some of the countries and that have shown and proven to work.
No, thank you very much. Sorry, Bridget, I wanted to indicate that I'm actually the chairperson of the Central Drug Authority and not a CEO.
Lovely, thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So indeed, this particular conference is focusing on harm reduction in the main, to ensure that really the people who are using drugs and people who are injecting drugs are assisted in terms of public health services and harm reduction in particular. Even though we are focusing on harm reduction, we in South Africa we talk about comprehensive harm reduction, which starts from prevention. Preventing people really deciding not to use drugs at an early age, especially harmful drugs. Education and awareness. There's quite a number of programs that are implemented by government, by non-governmental organizations, by community-based organizations, etc. And then there's also psychosocial support. There are programs on aftercare, reintegration into communities. But this particular conference is focusing on sharing experiences on harm reduction. In particular, we are speaking about programs such as the needle and syringe exchange programs, and this is a program that really, in the main, is provided by civil society organizations. Our government, led by the Department of Health, is actually has initiated a research program just to make sure that the medicine that in terms of there's a needle and syringe exchange program, but there's also the opioid agonistic therapy. So those are the two main programs, but there's also the prevention of overdose, where we use specific medication. So in all these countries, Kenya, Nigeria, that shared today, and other countries as well, they were indicating that they are also providing a needle and syringe exchange program as well as the opioid agonistic therapy. So I'm going to shorten them, NSP as well as AOAT as well. So basically, with needle and syringe exchange program, we focus on people who use, who actually inject drugs in particular, also those who are using nyaube, wonga, which is a concoction mixed with heroin. It's an opioid. And they are provided by the civil society organizations with clean needles and clean syringes, because we have seen when we visited people who are injecting drugs, they will actually share, the contaminated drugs, contaminated needles and syringes, and in that way they actually share illnesses. One could be HIV positive, and when they use the same contaminated needle, they then transfer the illness to one another. But there's also hepatitis C, which can also be transmitted through sharing of contaminated needles and syringes. So these organizations will provide clean needles and clean syringes so that they can be able to, you can't force people to stop using drugs, but if they are using, and they will decide on their own as time goes on to actually stop using drugs. And then with the OAT, there is provision of medicine. People who inject drugs are provided, who are actually dependent on heroin. They are provided with the medicine called methadone, and there are other medicine for prisonofol, etc., so that they can, be able to be treated and to really improve their health being, improve their well-being, improve their state, their state of health. And we've seen people who inject drugs really, on a daily basis getting better, getting healed, taking care of themselves once they've received this medication. And also even remembering that, by the way, I have a family, I have a mother, or I have a sister, or I have a brother, or I have children, they go back home. And they are now really, human beings who can really take responsibility for their actions. And after some time, they'll decide to weigh themselves out. But it's really about protecting lives. Yes. And so yes, the other countries as well, they shared with us this work that we are also doing in South Africa. And we are hopeful that really with the upscaling of harm reduction programs in Africa, in all countries in Africa, we should be able to really save lives. And then the naloxone as well is a medicine that is used to prevent overdose. We've read and seen some people, young people in particular, who overdose on drugs. But if we can be able, as countries, be able to assist people and provide this medicine in time, and we will have less deaths in our countries. Yeah,
absolutely. I thought we'd have more time on our hands, Nandi, to just explore other issues around this, but unfortunately we've fast run out of it. So let's leave it here for today, but we appreciate you taking some time out from your schedule. That was Nandi Khoza, who is the chairperson of the Central Drug Authority South Africa. And of course, as you've heard, some of those conversations happening in Cape Town with the various stakeholders around the drug issues affecting us globally really speak to harm reduction. That means putting health and human rights before punishment, and just shifting away from this notion of criminalization and heading towards a more evidence-based, rights-affirming policies. So let's see what comes out of there. I know that whenever we talk drugs and, drug interventions and new approaches, it's always very much a polarizing conversation, because there are some people who take a very hard line, and then there are people who are more open to perhaps innovative ways that consider other factors as to how we tackle it. But that's where we're going to leave it for today. Ashraf and his team are coming through on the National Pulse. We will be in conversation again with you tomorrow, and we'll see what happens with the Madlanga Commission tomorrow, whether or not it commences live. And if it does, we'll try and bring you that. And if it doesn't, we'll bring you some updates and recaps as to what has stalled the process. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Top stories: Asawa evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission submit their in-camera application, and UFS halts academic activities. Good afternoon. I'm Jolani Tulo Webe. Evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission have submitted their application that hearings between the 13th and 17th of October to be heard in camera. They say this is due to the sensitivity of the witness statements that will be submitted before the Commission. They further submit that hearings from the 20th and that 22nd of this month be anonymized. This means that witnesses will testify remotely with only audio. Sibahle Mota reports.
Evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission have cited 4 reasons for witness testimony to be heard in camera without the presence of the media and the public. This includes the safety of witnesses, the protection of ongoing criminal investigations, the protection of investigative methods and operational security, and the protection of informants and confidential sources. Proceedings in the Madlanga Commission were adjourned on Monday after Media 24 and Daily Maverick opposed the application by the evidence leaders to hear witness testimony in camera. I am Sibahle Mota in Pretoria.
Suspended Deputy National Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has informed Parliament that he is appearing before the ad hoc committee under protest. He's the third witness to appear before the committee. During the course of the meeting, the committee discussed the participation of MK MP David Skosana, who laid criminal charges against witnesses, Police Minister Senzo Mchunu and Sibiya. The committee's evidence leader advocate Norman Arendse says this could be seen as a conflict of interest. MKP refused to withdraw its member. Upon getting advice from his legal team, Sibiya continued with the meeting.
Just before I continue, Chair, in response to my short meeting with my legal team, I'm advised that I will proceed. I'm proceeding, but I must note or indicate rather that I do so under protest, Chair, in case at the ultimate end, because I will be participating in a process that I believe could be tainted.
Limpopo Premier Popi Ramathoba says a preliminary report on the cause of the bus crash that claimed 42 lives on the N1 near Louis Trichardt will be released within 48 hours. The vehicle overturned and rolled down an embankment after the bus driver allegedly lost control yesterday. The bus was travelling from Gqeberha and the Eastern Cape en route to Zimbabwe and Malawi. Ramathoba says fatigue may have been the cause of the incident.
Officials from the traffic department, we've got RTMC, they've already started with the work of investigating, and they've reassured us that within the next 48 hours, they will be giving us preliminary report. The fact that the bus was traveling from PE up towards Harare, you can't rule out a fatigue. You can't rule it out. Even probably maybe if you were two drivers, you were exchanging, but you can't rule out the fatigue.
Academic activities have been halted at the main campus of the University of the Free State in Bloemfontein. This amid ongoing protests by students over the cancellation of provisional registration. Students mobilized from 10 p.m. last night to completely shut down the campus. They've vowed to continue with what they call peaceful protest marches until the university reverses its decision. Meanwhile, students are gathered outside the Bloemfontein Magistrates Court, where 6 others are expected to appear on charges of malicious damage to property and attempted arson. Cheering crowds have met several buses carrying Palestinian prisoners and detainees released by Israel in exchange for the 20 living hostages freed by Hamas. Around 2,000 detainees from Gaza and 250 Palestinian prisoners are being released today as part of the ceasefire deal. Earlier, the Israeli hostages were handed over in 2 separate groups to the International Committee of the Red Cross in the Palestinian territory. The buses carrying Palestinian prisoners have arrived in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. The BBC's Barbara Pletasha has the story.
The first bus has just arrived. We just had the Red Cross vehicles run past us, and now the families and the friends are gathering in front of the opening of the bus to see people coming off. Prisoners coming out, somebody wearing a kafia, a Palestinian kafia. The door is opening now. Okay. They have started to come out.
Recapping the top story, the Sawa evidence leaders in the Madlanga Commission have submitted their application that hearings between the